All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Armdrager podcast. As always, I am your host, Ben Hersick, and we are on episode 19, and it's Clash of Champions predictions. I completely forgot this event was happening last week, so that's why I kind of said, if something's around, hopefully I can find something to cover. And I completely forgot about a WWE event. Well, there we go. There's what we're covering this week. But as always, before we get too far into this, as always, following the social medias, specifically Twitter, since that's where I usually promote this stuff. You can follow myself on Twitter at TrueSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. Follow All Things Combat on Twitter at Things Combat, where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We have a couple of articles in the works. Recently, my article of How to Improve 205 Live went up. And honestly, it's still pretty true, even though the show is rumored to be going away. We have predictions of this going up, so it won't be myself, but also be Token will have his on here as well. I'm working on an article about NXT going to TV. And there's some other stuff we have in the works. I know we got a couple of UFC events coming up. We have a couple of boxing events coming up. All that will be covered by us. Like I said, you can follow us at Things Combat for all of those articles and tweets and information. I also am the sports editor over at the Cauldron in Cleveland State, and you can follow them on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. Our first issue of the semester just went out. I tweeted out the link to both of my articles in the first issue just a little while ago. The articles themselves will be linked in the description below. And we worked really, really hard on this one. We're really happy with how it turned out. And if you guys read our stuff, that would be great to see. Before we get to Clash Champions, I do want to say Impact is coming back to TV. And to a lot of people's surprise, it's not dead yet. I don't think it's ever going to die, which is a very good thing because more pro wrestling is better. It was announced today that Impact will be going to AXS TV starting October 20th. That is a Sunday. I'm curious if the shows themselves are going to run on Sundays, or if that's just the day they could start actually airing shows on the channel. If that's the case, then we might have Sunday live coverage too, depending. What else? That's a big move for Impact in general because of the fact that it is now the third largest professional wrestling company in the United States of America. So it's a big step, and it's their biggest deal since their deal with Spike TV. Very happy to see. It's been a long time coming. I'm happy to get back into Impact. They have wrestlers in there that I want to watch, and they have wrestlers who I've heard about but I've never had a chance to see. So it's really cool. October has just gotten really big for wrestling, for pro wrestling. AEW premieres on October 2nd. WWE moves to Fox on October 4th. The WWE is starting a draft the following week after Hell in a Cell in October still. And Impact is coming back to a channel a lot more people get than the channel they're on now that I already forgot about. So October is going to be a fun one to talk about when we get to October. We still have the rest of September to get through, including Clash Champions. Now I know I already said this, but before that, 205 Live possibly going away is not the end of the Cruiserweight division, thankfully. There's a lot of great wrestlers on that show, and I'm glad they're not being let go as a result of the show itself being canceled. It's a bit of a weird situation because if SmackDown does move to 3 hours, then you do have to do something with 205 Live. And to me, the easy answer is you have 2 hours of NXT TV to fill. You can easily have the Cruiserweights be one of those hours. If you want to focus on the Cruiserweights. If you don't, then you can just integrate them into the NXT picture itself. I'd like to see Drew Gulak versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Maybe even Tony Nese versus Johnny Gargano at some point. And the interesting thing, too, now that with that happening, it would be you would have a 5-match takeover. All 5 matches would be championship matches and no one-on-one singles matches, or tag team matches for that matter, aside from a tag team championship match. So, what I thought would be a really good idea, or it's a good idea to me, they should do an NXT pre-show where they actually have a match. Like you do the TV tapings for next week, well, no, you don't even do that because you're live now. So you wouldn't have any TV tapings to worry about. So you just have a one-on-one match. Whatever the one-on-one singles match is, you have that one take the pre-show spot where the cruiserweights get onto the main card finally. And Drew Gulak can show the world just how damn good he is. It's an interesting topic to think about too, because of the fact that the cruiserweight division has been so overshadowed and underutilized since returning in 2016. Now that it's like going to be on NXT TV, it's like almost a rejuvenation that it needed, which is really nice to see. But I'm starting to ramble on all this stuff. Let's get into the heart of this episode, which is the Clash of Champions predictions. I'm also going to do King of the Ring because I know as of right now, their match is going to be on Raw the following night. But just in case, if I need to, because I do want to say my King of the Ring predictions anyway. I'm actually very glad with how King of the Ring went this year. You had an emerging star in Chad Gable win the SmackDown side. Shane McMahon lost on the SmackDown side, which was nice to see. And you had Baron Corbin win on Raw. Both guys didn't really have much going on beforehand. Now, both guys have a high-profile match, either possibly on Sunday or on Monday night the next night. It's also a tough call, too, because of the fact that you can make a call for either of them to be the actual winner of the tournament. For Chad Gable's sense, you could say this match launches careers if you win the King of the Ring tournament. Look at Stone Cold Steve Austin and Edge as the two best examples of that. Maybe Triple H in 98. I believe it was either 97 or 98. I don't remember which one off the top of my head. Triple H got his career started on like the upswing then, which was really cool to see. So there's the argument for Chad Gable. The argument for Baron Corbin is the fact that no heel has won this tournament in quite a long time. And it's high time one of them did. And Corbin is the perfect person for it. He's got the natural heat that he draws anyway. He's got the people who just don't like him. There's so much, he could do as King of the Ring. It's just really tough to think, like, Corbin just had a failed push to the championship main event scene. Do you put something this big on him? I'm going to say yes, because of the fact Corbin's a more established name. This match is going to make this whole tournament has made Chad Gable's career. But I do think that you look at it, Corbin is the guy who needs this a little more. Gable's going to go on to do great things in his career, and I'm excited to see him. Whereas Baron Corbin, right now, I think it makes a lot more sense to win the title, or the crown, I guess, in this sense. So I'm going to go with Baron Corbin, just to put that out there. Now to the actual show. Let's start with the one match that is not a championship match. Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan in a no disqualification match. At first, I felt like this one was a shoo-in for Roman. However, that no disqualification, little bit, it makes me think Rowan could win. Because then Daniel Bryan could come out, help Rowan, and reveal it was him all along. But there's also the factor to me that Bryan could come out and try to help Rowan, but since they're not on the same page, that ends up costing Rowan the match. And Roman is somebody we know that isn't going to be out of the title picture for a long time. I'll have more on that a lot later, but this feels like just a filler feud, for lack of a better term. It's something where you look at it and say, that's okay. This is fine. But the fact, that you look at it with, it's a multi-time WWE champion, a former Universal champion. He's won the Royal Rumble. He's done so much more. All Rowan's done is won tag team titles in WWE. So I think it still feels safe to pick Roman here, which is what I'm going to do. And it really comes down to me, if Bryan and Rowan are on the same page. Because if they do end up revealing that this was Bryan that we all pretty much knew all along, then it's very big because of the fact that could be a Hell in a Cell match between Roman and Bryan, which I think a lot of people would want to see. It's an interesting one because of the fact that Bryan is like this weird enigma in it, and Rowan is now getting the push of his life. Wrestling's weird. Okay, WWE wrestling is weird. And I'm totally fine with Rowan getting a push, but against a main event level guy, it's a real tough sell for me to believe that Rowan is going to lose to Roman. So I'm going Roman Reigns there. Next up would be the Cruiserweight Championship match, which is a triple threat between Humberto Carrillo, Lince Dorado, and Drew Gulak. Let me tell you, it is very, very tempting to pick one of the two challengers here. Dorado and Carrillo haven't done too much recently. Well, too much recently. They haven't done a lot because 205 Live is only an hour. But when you look at it, they've both got a legit claim to a championship match. Carrillo won that big 5-on-5 tag team match for Team Lorcan, and then went on to beat Lorcan in a one-on-one match where the winner got a championship opportunity against Drew Gulak. Dorado came out a week or so later after that and said that he wanted to face Carrillo, and if he beat Carrillo, he gets a spot and the match becomes a triple threat. It's an interesting build, too, because of the fact the story kind of revolves more around Carrillo and Dorado compared to the champion and Drew Gulak. Now, does that play into the overall thing? The overall pick for me? No. I'm going with Gulak because of the fact that he's been just so good as a champion to me. There's nothing that he's done wrong. There's nothing that you could look at him and say he should lose the title. I look at Drew Gulak and say that this guy is a fantastic wrestler, and it's going to take somebody who's a really big name to take him down. I know Dorado did his thing over in Puerto Rico and Evolve, and I think Chikara too. And I know Carrillo's a big name in Mexico. But to take down Drew Gulak, you have to have somebody who's like super talented, like a huge name. The name that always kept coming into my mind, I said that a little too fast, was Jordan Miles or Isaiah Scott. A whole lot of pro wrestling fans know ACH, and a whole lot of pro wrestling fans know Shane Strickland. One of those two are a legit challenger to Gulak. And then I thought about it. If NXT is moving to 2 hours, well, when it moves to 2 hours, we could see a little more integration of NXT UK. That could bring in Tyler Bate. That could bring in Ilya Dragunov. That could bring in other people whose names I don't remember off the top of my head. Travis Banks. That's another one. There we go. Ligero. It would be a huge thing. And plus, we could finally get rid of a purple belt and have the black and gold one that I've seen on the internet that looks phenomenal. And I want that. That would be the one replica I would buy. If I ever buy a replica. From WWE at least. Because I want to buy all the New Japan belts if I can. Though, I still think we're a little ways away. And if this is the beginning of Carrillo's push to be a big name, that's a huge step for him. Lince Dorado's kind of in a weird spot with Lucha House Party still. And in fact, he's affiliated there, while Kalisto is kind of the quote-unquote leader kind of makes me wonder. And I'm curious to how long until they tease tension in Lucha House Party. But yeah, I know, like I've said, that Gulak kind of like a side piece in this story, which is very true. The whole time I've just been talking about the fact that you have the story between Carrillo and Dorado where Gulak is just kind of there, which makes that man very, very dangerous. So I'm taking Gulak because of the fact that he's kind of an afterthought. And that would be a very big win for him to defeat two guys. And then you can kind of go to the first episode of NXT. You can be the first guy out there and say, who's left? Maybe we get Gulak versus Gargano out of this. I don't know. That would be a good match, though. Triple H, if you're listening, please book that. I want it. Next, we have the Intercontinental Championship match between The Miz and Shinsuke Nakamura. I have never been so torn on a match. Also, let's take a minute to realize this. This is one of the best Intercontinental Champions, reign-wise, in WWE history, and in my overall opinion, one of the best Intercontinental Champions in general in WWE history, versus maybe the very best IWGP Intercontinental Champion of all time in Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke just has to think about those white belts, man. He wants all the white belts. It's a really tough call here, too, because of the fact that the Jericho aspect in this match is nerve-wracking to me. For those who don't know this, Jericho is the longest reigning... You probably should know this anyway. Chris Jericho is the longest reigning WWE Intercontinental Champion. Not the longest reigning. He has the most reigns with the belt. I think he's at 9. Whatever it is, I know Miz is 1 behind and 2 away from breaking the record. I'm going to double check my math. Matches. It's way down here. Read article. Reigns. Let's do Intercontinental Champions. This one. Reigns. Combined reigns. The Miz is at 8 reigns, while Chris Jericho is at 9. Now, does WWE want Miz to break this record? Absolutely. My fear, and this is always a fear of mine when there's a record being played with, are we going to see hot potato? Is Miz going to win it at Clash of Champions, Shinsuke win it at Hell in a Cell, and then Miz win it on the first SmackDown on Fox to break the record? That would be a really big thing, especially considering 2 days prior, AEW debuts on TV. So, I think it would be a very, very tough call, but I can see it happening. And that's honestly the reason that I'm taking The Miz. The Jericho aspect is just a little too much for me. And I don't want this Shinsuke thing to be a one and done. I want Shinsuke to actually be used properly. And I fear the only way he's going to be used properly is if A, he goes back to NXT, which he does not need, or B, Triple H just gets control of everything. Who knows, with the XFL starting up, maybe that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I really feel like Nakamura can be that main event level star everybody knows he is. He just needs the right people in place. And that's Triple H. I want Nakamura... I feel like even a change of scenery would help him. Because of the fact that we're getting this draft, Nakamura going to Raw would be a great thing. And he could get new challengers, face new opponents. He could become a star over there and rise to the top of the card. Maybe we get him versus Lesnar too. Who knows? It's rather tough because of the fact that there is the Jericho aspect, but there is also just the general aspect that Miz just collects those Intercontinental Championships. He's got 8 reigns by himself. I don't even know if WWE was considering the record before Jericho went to AEW or even won the AEW Championship. But I'm going with Miz because of the fact that I'm pretty sure WWE is going to be petty and break that record. Next up is the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I also want to state, I've spoken with Token about doing these predictions on All Things Combat. We are purposely disagreeing on about 5 matches. So that way there can be a winner because we have a championship over there, and currently the championship is vacant until one of us wins it. And just in case there's a double disqualification, a double count out, or something along those lines on this show, that's why I did the King of the Ring prediction. And this is one of the matches we agreed to purposely disagree on. In the article, I'm going with Rose and Deville because I do honestly think it would be a really good career move for them. But for myself and my actual thoughts, I am going with Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss simply because of the fact that I feel like there's still a little more they can do in that match or in that team. It's just like there's a fear I have now because of the fact that it's not that Alexa Bliss is going to turn on Nikki Cross, which, spoiler alert, is probably going to happen at some point. Somebody's going to turn on somebody, and easy money's on Bliss turning on Cross. I'm trying to find this also so I can remember which other ones we disagree on. Yep, okay. Perfect. So you look at it, it's a story of bullies in Rose and Deville going against champions who are heels? Question mark. It's almost like they don't know what's going on in the women's tag team division. If WWE needs somebody to figure out what the hell to do in a women's tag team division, I'm on Twitter, guys. Just follow me and help me help you, please. It's a rather interesting one too because of the fact that outside of these two teams, you have the Iconics who haven't been on TV since losing the titles. The main reason is not because they have nothing for them. It's because Peyton Royce is probably on a honeymoon somewhere with Sean Spears since they just got married. Congratulations to them, by the way. And it'd be weird to have Billy Kay without Peyton Royce. Kabuki Warriors, who just had 2 title shots. That's really it. But you have, Naomi's doing nothing. Ember Moon doesn't have anything going on. Carmella doesn't have anything going on. Natalya doesn't have much, it seems. Lacey Evans could probably use a friend. When Ruby Riott comes back, her and Sarah Logan or her and Liv Morgan. That would be something interesting. But I'm going with with Bliss and Cross to retain because of the fact they don't really... It doesn't feel like the right time to lose the titles. Also, and I know people have mentioned this elsewhere, you have Alexa Bliss doing promotional work for SmackDown going to Fox. And in the promotional work, she doesn't have a title. So, is Bliss going back to SmackDown? That's my question. And is she bringing the title with her and Cross coming with her? Because this is the one title I don't mind being on both shows. It makes sense. You have a very small women's division as it is. Hell, you could have them on NXT. You could have them do 3 different stops. That's simple. Just no more wild card rule bullshit that we always see. But Bliss and Cross retain here because of the fact there's not much else going on in the women's tag division. Also, how long do you think it's going to be until Sonya Deville turns on Mandy Rose or Mandy turns on Sonya? And Sonya is going to come out as the face because Sonya, a lot of people like Sonya. I'm one of them. I really enjoy watching Sonya Deville wrestle. She's very talented. She's very underrated, I think. She just needs an opportunity. She showed what she can do with Asuka when Asuka was on the rise to finally winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. She just needs the right people behind her, just like Shinsuke Nakamura. Let's move to the United States Championship match between AJ Styles and Cedric Alexander. In the article on All Things Combat, I'm taking Cedric Alexander. And after reading some stuff from backstage, it doesn't seem like a bad pick, to be fair. There seems to be a plan by Paul Heyman to slowly push Cedric to the top of the show. If that is the case, That's a very big thing for a former cruiserweight. A current cruiserweight still. I think he's still weighing in at like 200 pounds from what they say. I know Buddy's bulked to 230. Ali is like 190 still. I think Cedric's at least 200. It's And it makes sense. If he's going to slowly go to the top, it would be perfect to start in the mid card. Now, the thing is, though, you're still completely shafting the OC. But Rollins doesn't really have any challengers lined up. There's no real big heel who feels like a threat. You have McIntyre, yes. You have Samoa Joe, yes. You have a copious amount of other heels, yes. But when was the last time Drew McIntyre won a match? When was the last time Samoa Joe felt like a threat to a champion? It's the fact of WWE using their stars incorrectly that is really annoying. It's hard to see who else it could be. AJ Styles losing does make sense, but I'm taking Styles because of the fact that they need Cedric to chase this. You don't just give it to him first shot. You have to have the story of AJ just being like, I'm just this much better than you are. And then Cedric saying, you are not that much better. I'm on your level. And AJ just thinking that he's not. And Cedric has to go and earn the United States Championship. That would be a very fun story to watch, and it's one I want to happen. It's a story that you don't see a lot anymore either. You're just like, oh, everybody's on the same level. Cool. Except for No Way Jose. He's like 2 levels down. It's a weird kind of thing, and it's nice to see it. It's like a simple wrestling story. Young up-and-comer wants championship, but current champion doesn't think that he's ready, and the young up-and-comer has to prove that he's ready to eventually win it. I'm curious how long this goes, because right now, based on my predictions, the Survivor Series match would be AJ Styles versus The Miz. I don't know about you, but that's not very high on my list of dream matches. It could be AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and if they give it time and not a stupid story, that can work. That can be a great match. But knowing WWE, they're going to give him no time and a stupid story. But I'm going with AJ because I want to see Cedric chase a little more. I'm saying this could go until... Hell, it could go until the Royal Rumble, even. Like, Cedric could be on Team Raw with Braun Strowman, probably, at Survivor Series in the big 5-on-5, and he can get the winning pinfall. And then it's like, okay, and then the OC calls a disqualification at TLC, and then at Royal Rumble, OC's banned from ringside, and it's just Styles, Cedric, one-on-one. I just booked the whole feud how I would love to see it. Next up, we have the SmackDown Tag Team Championships between SmackDown's New Day, Big E, and Xavier Woods versus, I can't believe I'm still saying this, versus Raw's Revival in Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. This is New Day easily. I can't see any single scenario where they put SmackDown titles on Raw superstars. I said the same thing when Bayley was facing Alexa Bliss. They're not gonna do it. There's no way. I think when you look at it, this is the match where I feel the most confident in. Revival's on Raw. It's that simple. However, this match has implications later in the night. I'm not teasing a New Day split. I'm one of the few people who think the New Day are never splitting. I don't know about you, but the amount of merch they move, that would be the dumbest decision I've seen in a long time from a pro wrestling company. The last one was hiring Hulk Hogan and Impact. But, I look at it, this makes sense because, New Day's got momentum going into one of the main events with Kofi Kingston. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And yeah, I understand the argument where, Revival win, then the story's going to be, can Kofi stop the downward momentum of the New Day and continue his reign as WWE champion? But it's an easy pick for me. It's easily New Day. And I'm not even going to spend that long on this one. The only thing I keep asking this. Who's next? Who's left for New Day? There's no team on SmackDown. There's not even really a team on Raw, to be fair. You have the Revival, you have the OC who haven't done much recently except for lose. I'm talking about Viking Raiders next. You have nobody else really. You have Heavy Machinery, but they've already gotten 2 shots. It's the times like this you need to have makeshift tag teams. And that's why I'm fine with Rude and Ziggler. If you have 2 single stars doing nothing, then it's perfect to just put them in a team together and say, here's some TV time, go show us something. And I'm fine with that. And that's what Rude and Ziggler did. But it's like, it's a whole tough situation too, because of the fact that tag team wrestling is going to be a high priority thing for AEW. How will that affect WWE's tag team division? Hell, even NXT's tag team division, because NXT's tag team division, I said this last week, is not that not that good. Put quotes around not that good. It's not that deep. There's the Undisputed Era, there's Street Profits, there's Forgotten Sons, and there's Breezango. Who takes the titles of Undisputed Era? Probably Breezango. And Tyler Breeze, I almost said Tyler Bate. Tyler Breeze finally wins a freaking championship. And I look at it, if we can fix the tag team problem in WWE, then we're off to a good start. We had to fix a couple of main event issues because there's like 4 guys that are main event level talent right now. 5 when Finn Balor gets back. But there's not much left out there. Everybody else is just really mid-carders. So if we can start with the tag team division, fix that, fix the main event picture, and fix some of the mid-card stuff and the women's division, WWE is just full of problems. That should be a topic for a couple weeks down the line here. No, that's what it's going to be, not next week, but the week after. Fixing every one of WWE's problems. There's a perfect topic. Okay, I'm way off track. My pick is New Day. Raw Tag Team Championships are on the line. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, who, if you did not know, they're facing each other in the main event after defending their Raw Tag Team Championships earlier in the night. Did you know? Did you not know that? I swear, commentary on WWE can be so dumb sometimes. But yes, Rollins and Strowman are defending their tag team titles against Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, as people have come to call them Rudolph. I'm taking Dolph and Roode because of this point. Yes, Paul Heyman is really high on Robert Roode. I keep calling him Bobby Roode because that's what I'm used to. Hell, he was called Robert Roode in freaking TNA. I think him being high on Roode is a good thing for Roode's career, and it can help Roode get back to the momentum he had. And I like seeing Ziggler look at this, because Ziggler's a guy who's lost so much, you just think he's going to lose, and it'll be a nice little swerve. But the main reason I'm taking the team of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, who was in the main event of Monday Night Raw last week? On the winning side, you had Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, 2 main event players, Cedric Alexander, a guy on the come-up, and the Viking Raiders. As dumb as the name sounds, it has started to grow on me a little bit. I'm maybe I'm that jaded of a guy. Maybe I'm just way out there. I'm starting to like the name Viking Raiders. I feel like Roode and Ziggler are merely transitional champions. I don't want it to be a transitional, like, oh, hey, we won the titles on Sunday and we lost them to the Viking Raiders on Monday. No. I want them to be like, oh, we're champions. Here's a successful title defense against, I don't know. I was going to say B team, but they're on SmackDown. Here's a successful title defense against some local jobbers. And then maybe at TLC, we have the Viking Raiders take the titles. It seems like that would make sense to me. I don't see them losing it to the OC because of the fact that they're heels. And you can start to build Viking Raiders versus OC for WrestleMania. That's a match I'd want to see. Anderson, Gallows, Hanson, and Rowe just going at it for 15, 20 minutes. Take my money. I'm very happy for that one. It's really interesting too because of the fact that whoever eats the pinfall between Rollins and Strowman is probably going to have more momentum for the main event. So if that's the case, I feel like Rollins is going to be that. I kind of see a finish in my head. I don't think it's really going to be the finish, but it could be. Strowman's going on a tear, shoulder tackling everyone. He tackles Ziggler and Rude outside the ring like twice. The legal man, Rude or Ziggler, rolls in, and Seth Rollins, or the illegal man rolls in. Seth hits him with a stomp. Dolph rolls, the legal man then for Rude and Ziggler would roll in and would go for something. They would turn that person around. Strowman's running at them for a shoulder tackle. The legal man on Rude and Ziggler's side ducked down, and Strowman runs into Rollins, pushing him over the down body he just stomped. Strowman then noticing his mistake. Or no, it would be... Let me rephrase everything I just said. Strowman shoulder tackles Rude and Ziggler like twice. The legal man rolls in. Rollins stomps them. The illegal man rolls in. Probably Dolph Ziggler. And goes for a zigzag but misses. Strowman is going for a shoulder tackle on Ziggler. Ziggler moves out of the way. Rollins gets shoulder tackled into Rude for a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. There's your new champions. It keeps Seth safe. It adds fuel to the fire for later that night. And it makes things a little interesting, I think. It's a really weird one, too, because you wouldn't think this is the match that you would be interested in, but I'm a fan of 3 of the guys in the match. I'm just not a fan of Strowman. Rollins is fantastic. Rude has been great before. Dolph Ziggler is just Dolph Ziggler. Is Dolph Ziggler in a championship, in a main event championship match, or excuse me, a world title championship match? World title championship. I'm just butchering this whole thing. Let me start over. Is Dolph Ziggler in a world championship match in 2019 what we need to see? No, not by a long shot. But Dolph Ziggler in a tag team in 2019 to help get another guy over in Bobby Roode, I am totally for that. Could they have gone about it a better way and actually had them build to this match? Yes, absolutely. But I don't mind seeing this match here either, because of the fact that it's 2 guys who are very talented. Nothing to do. Here's something to do. Bada bing, bada boom. Perfect. Is it the perfect scenario? No, but it's perfect for what it is. Next up, let's go to the women's divisions. Let's start with the easier of the 2, I think. Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair. I say easy. I said easier. Still not that easy. I'm going with Bayley. And I'm like the one person still convinced she's not a heel. There's no way Bayley's a heel. With that theme, with that entrance, there's no way possible. I'm more curious, though, as to where this is going to go. And I do think it eventually is going to lead to Bayley versus Sasha. Some people have said Sasha is Raw Women's Champion, Bayley is SmackDown Women's Champion, and the pair of them as Women's Tag Team Champions. I don't think that's happening. I just can't see any way, shape, or form that happening. I've been wrong before, though. I think this is more to help get Bayley over. Because Bayley's gotten great reactions, yes. But she hasn't had, mega star level reactions. And this can make Bayley a megastar in her match against Charlotte Flair and continuing this possible story with Sasha Banks. Let me explain. Charlotte's in her hometown, so there's the whole losing in your hometown thing in WWE that we always see, which probably could rear its ugly head again. But it all depends on match placement, too, because if Sasha and Becky are before this match, I could see somehow Sasha helping Bayley win Bayley's match, only for the beat down from Becky, and then you have the whole just four horsewomen just brawl all the way to the back. I think that'd be rather fun to watch too. But the main reason I think that Bayley retaining is the right call, if this is a heel turn, you just turned her heel. She can't lose the title that quickly if you just turned her heel. I think it's, to me, more of the what's the right terming for this? It's more of a question of what really can they do with a heel Bayley, and how far do they push the envelope on a heel Bayley? How much do they change? What do they do? Does Bayley slowly get paranoid or something along those lines? It will be a nice, refreshing change of pace for Bayley. Something new for her to do. Totally fine, but just something doesn't click to me. Something just... This is how I finally realized the term makes sense. Now I understand when people say there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. Something is not right here. And I can't place my finger on it what it is. It's just so frustrating to me because of the fact that Bayley as a heel just doesn't... It shouldn't work. It shouldn't work. But they have to change so much that they can make it work. That being said, Bayley's retaining. She just turned heel. There's no way she's losing the title that quickly. Plus, I always feel like whoever looked strong going into the pay-per-view on the week of television before is probably going to lose. Charlotte looked pretty strong. On Raw, at least. Bayley looked strong on SmackDown, so it doesn't really help that point. But I feel like they still think Raw at this point in time is the A show. So that's why they had Charlotte win there. And then it's going to transpire that since Charlotte won there, she's going to lose the pay-per-view. That's the best. That's the easiest way to think about it. Next up, we have the Raw Women's Championship match. Becky Lynch against Sasha Banks. Again, I'm of two minds of this. I'm of three minds, honestly. I can see Becky winning. I can see Sasha winning. I can see a double disqualification. I'm taking Becky, and this part doesn't play into the prediction, but I'm taking Becky via disqualification. Ever since coming back, Sasha has been hitting Becky with steel chairs, going at her, illegally, technically, and just destroying her, especially her back and spine area, with a steel chair. At some point, Becky could be like, there's no way I can beat her, and just get a steel chair and start wailing on Sasha. And then you can set up the match for Hell in a Cell. Inside the cell, you would have Sasha versus Becky. But there's the Sasha side of my brain. She just came back. She's got all this momentum in the world. She's being booked like a prominent star. And there has to be some sort of incentive where she gets an early title reign when she comes back. I think she is. I don't think this is the pay-per-view for it, though. Then double disqualification is pretty simple. Sasha, like I just said, has been tormenting Becky since returning. And Becky could be like, enough, and get a steel chair. Sasha could be like, enough, and get a steel chair. And they just both start hitting each other with steel chairs. But Becky winning via disqualification makes sense. Sasha doesn't need to take a pin. She doesn't need to submit. Becky doesn't need to take a pin, doesn't need to submit. And then you can get to Hell in a Cell, and a big drawing point could be Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. This is a kind of continuation of the feud. Like I said, I do expect to see Sasha versus Bayley at Survivor Series. It's a question of how we get to that point. And if Sasha wins here, there's no real point of a rematch at Hell in a Cell because nobody wants to see Becky versus Bayley. I would be a great match, don't get me wrong. People would rather see Sasha versus Bayley, though, I think. So I think Becky winning here makes sense because of the fact that it's just, in the grander scheme of things, it makes sense to prolong the story. So that way, you can get your mileage out of it, and you can get to the finish line you want. And you can start to maybe, I don't know, build somebody up who's actually good at wrestling, not Lacey Evans, and be the rightful person to take the title off of Sasha. And the same thing can be said for Becky that I said for Alexa Bliss. Becky is in the promo videos of images that were leaked for SmackDown. Somebody that has to go to Raw, answer is probably Charlotte Flair. And it's evened out again. Two of the four horsemen on one show, horsewomen on one show, two of the four horsewomen on another show. There you go. Next up, the WWE Championship match. Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton. If I thought the Sasha Banks Becky match was hard to pick, my God, I've flip-flopped on this one a couple times at least. On one hand, Kofi winning finally proves the point that he's over the whole stupid thing. He is good enough, and it gets us to the next feud for Kofi. On the other hand, Randy Orton winning could set up a match at Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell, and kind of be like the transitional champion I was talking about earlier with Rude and Ziggler. Now, the question is, which of these scenarios make more sense? In my head, Randy Orton's scenario makes more sense. In my heart, Kofi's makes more sense. But the repercussions of Kofi retaining, I feel, are a little much. Because here's my scenarios. Kofi retains. Now we fast forward to the first episode of SmackDown. It wouldn't work, but this is in my head. Kofi issues an open challenge to anybody in the back who wants a WWE Championship shot. Brock Lesnar comes out. Brock beats him. Brock's your new champion. Or, and this is my dream scenario, and what I think makes a little more sense. Orton wins. The two have a rematch at Hell in a Cell, where Orton wins again. The Survivor Series, you have Orton versus Rollins. Honestly, it's a WrestleMania rematch we never knew we wanted again. I would love to see those two go at it one more time. And then at TLC, or even the Royal Rumble, if you want to push it, Orton reigns. I don't know what Kevin Owens' situation is, because right now, the only people who are plausible to be the next WWE champions are Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton. Not in that order, but those are the next three likely people to be champion after Kofi. And Kofi's had a fantastic run. I've been very happy to see Kofi prove that he belongs in the main event. So it's just so tough to think, Kofi's going to lose this title. I can't see him losing it cleanly. I can see Revival getting involved with a down referee. And then RKO, Orton wins. I just feel like the safer pick, because I don't want Lesnar anywhere near the WWE right now. I don't want Ronda Rousey anywhere near the WWE. I don't want MMA wrestlers, MMA grapplers turned professional wrestlers anywhere near WWE right now. I'm enjoying the product. It's actually starting to get better. But I feel like Roman being the next one in line makes sense, because that's always where we're going to. But and with Lesnar coming back, the obvious person to take the title off of Lesnar is Roman. And how does Kevin Owens play into this? Well, if Owens was still a heel, he would have made sense to take the title off of Kofi. But now that he's a face and feuding with Shane McMahon, in a feud that might go to WrestleMania, you don't want it to, but it could. I would rather see Roman win the championship again rather than Owens winning the WWE Championship for the first time. And it just makes more sense. And you don't have to deal with Brock Lesnar being there 3 days of the year. But I'm taking Orton very, very tentatively. It's a very tough one to pick, but I'm going Orton. And this brings us to our main event, It's probably going to be Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman. And like I said, it's got to be Seth Rollins. There's no way he's losing it to Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, I said at first, is damaged goods. I don't think he's damaged goods. Braun Strowman needs somebody to use him right. I don't know who that's going to be, but he needs something. It's rather hard to pinpoint exactly what the problem is. And Rollins, it's going to be a great match because Rollins is a fantastic professional wrestler. But, you look at it, it almost screams, who's next? Who's really left? They said The Fiend is challenging either Braun Strowman or Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell. I'm still the person. If he doesn't come out and say who he's actually challenging, the night of, he could attack whoever he wants. And if he attacks Strowman after Strowman loses the championship match, then the theory of Bray Wyatt being the next challenger for the Universal title goes out the window. I'm very happy about that. It would make sense if Randy Orton does win the WWE Championship, but I'd rather see Seth Rollins still be champion for that match. It's also kind of hard to kind of predict this one because of the earlier Raw Tag Team Championship match. I do think that Seth is walking out with just one belt. It seems pretty obvious to me. But, I look at it, this is the tougher of the two, but it's also the easiest one on the show. Because of the fact that Strowman, I think, is just not ready yet. And I'm curious how much, because Drew McIntyre, I think, would have made sense to be the next challenger. I wonder how long Drew had been injured, because he had minor surgery. If he hadn't had an injury going into King of the Ring, would that bracket look a little different? Maybe. Just maybe. And I think Drew McIntyre makes more sense to challenge Rollins. Maybe he challenges him at TLC and wins the title there. That would be a nice thing to see. That'd be nice to see them invest in McIntyre. But Clash Champions is going to belong to Seth Rollins. He's going to burn it down like he always says, even though that's dangerous. Never burn down a building, Seth Rollins, please. Those are my official picks for Clash Champions. Just to recap, I have Roman Reigns, Drew Gulak, The Miz, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, AJ Styles, New Day, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, Becky via disqualification, Bayley, Randy Orton, and Seth Rollins. And for King of the Ring, I am taking Baron Corbin. That is going to be it for this week. Next week, we're going to have a Clash of Champions recap. We're going to have a where are we going next, like what's the next steps, who are we going to see be the next challengers for Hell in a Cell. What's the story is going to be going into Hell in a Cell. Also, we're going to talk about King of the Ring final, see what that could lead to, possibly. And all that will be next week. Hopefully it's a good show. It has the potential from the card. It has a lot of potential. Just give everybody enough time. Don't give anybody like 5 minutes. Give them at least 15 each. And we'll all be good. We'll be happy. That's enough time to tell a story, I think. But that is it for this week. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. You can hit subscribe if you want to. You can leave a like on this video. You can leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter and say something over there. You can find me in real life. I'm not that hard to find. I go to school. I go to work. That's my life pretty much. I go to the game store. I got Borderlands 3 I got to pick up tomorrow. That's going to be fun. But that is it. Like I said, as always, subscribe, like, all those things. And again, I'm bad at words. Once again, as I always do at the end of these podcasts, I re-say the Twitter mentions. You can follow myself on Twitter at Shiro Solider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat over at Things Combat, where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We have articles, not a lot during the week, I've noticed recently. It's more the weekend. We have about 5 on the weekend we put out. It's a lot of fun still. And I am also the sports editor over at The Cauldron for Cleveland State. You can follow us on Twitter at CSU Cauldron. Thank you guys so much for listening. Like I said, next week, recap. Where do we go next? And also, what are my thoughts and my reactions to Clash of Champions? Thank you guys so much for listening. See you next week.